Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl Mini Mindset Reset. I'm your host, Danielle. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, a life coach to women, and author, one thing has become abundantly clear. So much of what gets in our way in our daily lives is not only how we think, but what we think, our mindset. Because of that, every other week, I'm taking your requests and questions and handing over quick, easy to use, practical strategies and life tools to help you shift your thinking, create calm, help you understand and express your emotions, harness your inner power, and learn how to navigate your personal story in 15 minutes or less. After all, how else can you get your life together? So let's shift your perspective with the tools and conversations that help you in the throes of change. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast mini mindset reset starts right now. Most of us experience times in our lives where we just don't feel good enough. We struggle with ourselves and wonder why it seems like life is so much easier for everyone else. But there are some things that we can remember when we don't feel good enough. Carolina F. from Dayton, Ohio wrote in and said, Danielle, I wish I could express how much I have learned from listening to your podcast. But what I'm writing about today is one place that I find myself backsliding into, and it is this feeling of not feeling good enough. I want to know, what do you suggest that all of us that have this thought in our head do to get out of it? Thanks for the work that you do. What a great question, Carolina. I hear it all the time. And not feeling good enough is really a story that absolutely tears away your confidence, self-esteem, self-love, and literally all the other selves. There's something, though, that I just said, one word, that I really want to pinpoint, and that word is story. Most of the time, when we tell ourselves we are not good enough, it's a lie. It's a faked version of the truth. It's a story. But the stories we tell ourselves do become our truths, and that becomes the way that we show up. So it's kind of a dirty cycle, and it's one that we want to get out of. And of course, it's one that can easily drag down our thoughts and drag down everything that we're trying to accomplish. So let's dive into a few things that you can do when this story of not being good enough is dragging you down and really owning your life. The first thing I want you to remember is that you have the power to question your inner critic. Have you ever thought about that? That you have the power to change the narrative? Because here's the ugly, ugly truth. The story of not being good enough is you talking to you. That realization never feels good, but it is the truth. And with that being the truth, can't you question yourself? Can't you say, why? Why am I saying these words to myself? What is it that I am really trying to say? These are important questions. You have the power to question yourself. And as you're asking why, I want you to get into the true understanding of whatever it is that you're saying you're not good enough for. This is the next level, right? So why is, I don't know, I'm just doing it, or that's what so-and-so said and I believe them, or I never thought about it, I'm just doing it automatically. Why? And then right below that, what am I really trying to say? From there, I want you to ask yourself, is this true? Is what I'm saying to myself true? I have my why over here on the left-hand side and my truth statement on the right. Do they match up? If they don't, I want you to ask yourself, what is the cost of this story? Is the cost of the story helping motivate me to work harder, or is it costing me more pain and upset? So the steps on questioning your inner critic, that power that you innately have, are: why? Is this true? What does this cost? The better you get at recognizing the story, and when your inner critic starts, flapping its gums, the easier and quicker it will be to shut it down. If the truth and the why still feel a bit hazy, you have the power to look for the exception or the evidence of the truth. Let's be honest, many of us get lost in our thoughts, and one negative thought can become the avalanche that turns our headspace into a whirlwind of not feeling good. And maybe you say, I always fail. That's a blanket statement that covers every single thing in your life. And we go back to that question, is that true? Can you think of a time or a moment or a space where you didn't fail? I know that you can, because it's absolutely impossible to fail at 100% of things, right? So there is some space in your life where something worked in your favor because of your actions. So if that is true and you can find that space, that can be the evidence and the exception to that statement, I always fail. It's really important, and you have to get into a space where you provide that evidence and break yourself out of that thought. Those small nuggets of evidence can really help increase your confidence, and it reminds you that this is just a story that I'm telling myself and never a fact. If you find that the story that you've told yourself, I always fail, is actually true, again, this is very hypothetical, then I want you to get into a space where you're changing the story from a negative to a neutral to then a grounded positive. How do we do that? Well, we start small with one thing you know you need to change so that you feel good enough, that you feel capable. Whatever that small thing is, we create a plan. Small plan, not a massive plan. We don't need to burn down the house to create something new. We're talking about small, bite-sized activity. Let's say you don't feel good enough to apply for a new job, okay? That's our example. You feel as though you need more training or certifications or more education, or maybe it's just you need a new resume. Whatever it is, what is the small start that'll allow you to move towards that goal? A small start would be, say, sitting down and creating a list of your qualifications. That would help you create the new resume. This list is going to also provide the evidence that you've already accomplished many things, and it can also expose the shortcomings that need to be addressed. Very important. When we have that before us, it can help open our mind to a new path and get us into a neutral place, out of the negative and into a neutral that helps us move forward. It also takes away that little story of the inner critic that you're not good enough. The next thing to do is to keep in mind that you must celebrate all of the wins, right? When you get into that space where you have created some action, you've got that resume started, we celebrate it. We celebrate the smallest things. If all you ever celebrate is the big victories, the big things, you're going to wait for a very long time between wins, and you're not going to develop that sense of enoughness on a regular basis, right? You will feel like you're not good enough because there's no celebration, there's no connection to the experiences that you're having. I want you to remember, one small step forward is still one small step forward, and it is important. We're talking about a journey, right? Not just A to B, A to Z on our goal intake and output. We're talking about taking a pathway, a journey. So celebrate the hell out of it. Small steps. It's okay. Don't wait for the big victories or you'll never feel good enough. Next, I want you to remember that it's important to talk about your feelings and get them out, because that changes the connection to the feeling. So if you keep saying, I'm not good enough, and you keep all of these not good enough thoughts bottled up, you will make yourself spiral out of control. Your thoughts will go down. Your emotional body will go down. It's keeping those in check in the body that really helps us move through. So letting them out is going to help you get a more grounded, constructive perspective. There's two ways that I'm thinking off the top of my head that you can do that. Obviously, there's going to be lots more. But the first one is discuss it with someone. Call a friend that you trust. Take advantage of their time for just a moment. Say, hey, do you have some time to help me work through a problem? Let that person offer you an eye-opening perspective. I often hear from people that I work with, I don't know how you listen to people's issues all day long. And the reason why is it doesn't impact me. I have no connection to the problem, and therefore I'm able to give an objective thought about it. My emotions are not involved. So this is the same for you when you offer advice to a friend's problem, and vice versa. Take advantage of it. Your friend can guide you and ground you in reality again so that you don't make a mountain out of a molehill and you begin to tell yourself this story so deeply and passionately that you believe it, full stop. Important to get the feelings out. The next thing you can do is journal about it, right? Get it out, write it on paper. If you don't have someone close to talk about things, again, just brain dump it out. Go to my website, getyourlifetogethergirl.com. Go into the blog and find the brain dump steps. It's very easy to do. There's a little bit more clarity there in the blog. I'll link it in the show notes so that you have quick access to it. But what's most important is to get these thoughts swirling in your head out of your head. With the thoughts on paper, it's going to be easier to see the story laid out, and that's going to help you find clarity in the truth, the why, the cost, all of it. And while you're at it, don't beat yourself up. Not being good enough is enough negativity. You don't need to add to it. Beating yourself up isn't going to change your emotional connection to the moment. In fact, it's only going to make things worse. It's not going to renew your worthiness. It's going to keep you in the loop. You have to be kinder to yourself. You have to be more constructive in your self-talk. Remember that lots of people beat themselves up, but that doesn't mean that it's the healthiest way to get out of your upset. And the last thing, at least for now, because we only have 15 minutes here, is to remember to focus on and take responsibility for the process of not feeling good enough. If you focus on the process of whatever it is you're trying to get yourself out of, that thing that you're telling yourself you're not good enough, then you can actually be more relaxed because you're creating that plan we just talked about. The pressure you put on yourself will greatly be reduced, and that too will diminish the feelings of not being good enough. When you focus on the process, you take responsibility for the way you show up and the actions you're taking. The greatest truth is your results will come anyway, right? Anytime that you show up, you're going to have results. When you're focusing on the process and you're adjusting along the way, what happens is you learn what works for you and what doesn't. And that, again, is evidence that helps you understand that you've always been good enough for everything that is in your space. And if you don't have enough evidence, if you don't have enough information yet, doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It just means that there's more learning to be done. And so really get into a space where you're questioning yourself. What is it that I am not good enough for? Why do I feel that way? Is this the truth? What do I want to do with this? When you're struggling, I want you to remember good enough doesn't have to define you. It can be just a question. It can be a thought, but it doesn't have to be the full experience. You have the power to change your story, the story of any experience, through your actions, through your thoughts. So I challenge you to start right now. I challenge you to change what's not working for you. Carolina, thank you for the question. I hope this helps you get out of that space, as I hope it helps everyone to do the same. Remember to question your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl mini mindset reset. If you have a subject or a strategy request, email us at getyourlifetogethergirlnow@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website at getyourlifetogethergirl.com. If you're looking for daily inspiration or tips and tools, join the growing community at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Thank you for being a valuable member of this community. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.